Hey everyone, so this will be a controversial take, but I don't think there should be any billionaires. I mean, what do they need all this money for? You might be like, oh well, it's better in society, so therefore it's a net positive. So, if we're thinking about people like Elon Musk, we're talking about people like Mark Zuckerberg. Like, be real, are they actually a net positive to society, do you think? I don't know. That's just how I think. It's just. I mean, you could argue that social media has done a lot of good. You could argue that Tesla's done a lot of good, but I mean, the way I see it is that regardless of all that, it's like there shouldn't be any billionaires in this world. It's just waste. They're wasting tons and tons of resources. They, buy up so much land. Like, you've got just these greedy billionaires just taking everything for themselves, and then the poorest of people end up with not much at all. I mean, I'm fine with people becoming entrepreneurs and making something for themselves, but when it gets to a point where it's just pure greed, then I can't agree with that. I can't agree with, when they're just getting to a point where they'll just do anything to make money. That a lot of them will just cut corners and do some really dodgy things. I mean, you just look into all the things that have happened with these people where they've done so much crap in their life. A lot of these billionaires, like the big pharma, for example. You've got the top of that companies like Pfizer and yeah, that it's just the more money they have, then the more corrupt they become. And I just think that there shouldn't be that level of wealth because they just become too powerful. They get to a point where they can influence elections, for example, when they're at that level. If anyone remembers the Cambridge Analytica thing, whatever, it was just, there was like a huge scandal thing where there's a lot of money in like influencing election results and stuff. So, you really think you have any kind of say in how politics goes? You can think again when you've got corporations that will manipulate things, manipulate public opinion. They're that powerful that they can do that. That's where I draw a line with it, where it's like, okay, I agree with, people becoming an entrepreneur, freeing themselves from the system, but then, that then they just like, it sort of then becomes bad for society when they will do anything to get their way. They'll just end up being a net negative for society in the long run. Just all that greed will just end up making everybody else poorer. And you see how people become so materialistic now, like, and these big companies, they try to manipulate people into buying into all these trends, to buy the newest items, whether it's technology, whether it's fashion, you name it. They do all this research to manipulate people into buying more things that they do not need. They've been tricked into thinking that they need all these things to fit in and be part of the, cool people, whatever, but that's all a lie, and you don't need any of that. there's a lot of waste to the environment, a lot of environmental damage at that level, wasting so much resources, causing so much pollution. They don't care. They just want to make more and more money, no matter what cost to society it is. I mean, yeah, it feels like we're cooked at times, like we are just, there's not a lot we can do. I mean, all we can do is just try to make the most of our own lives. But it's like these people never had to actually, a lot of the time, really work for it. You could say some of them did. It's not that often you get a self-made billionaire. I don't think there's a lot of self-made millionaires out there. In fact, I think most of them are now, but self-made billionaires, usually they come from some like Silicon Valley family who's already well off to begin with. I mean, you look at, the history of like, these people that got rich, like super rich, I mean, they probably have families that are already loaded themselves. So it's like, it just goes to show how unfair this system is. Why should these people get to become billionaires? Like, they're not probably even that good of people. I mean, it's like you got people like Mark Zuckerberg who's just desperately trying to rebrand himself as this human guy that, because people saw him as just like an android, as just like a cyborg. He was just like this weird kind of nerdy character who's just almost like a robot. And people are like, that this just feels off. But then he tried to rebrand himself and doing jiu-jitsu and, even changing up his style to try and look more hip or something, if that's the word. I mean, just look more cool, whatever. And it's like, oh, I'm down with you guys. So, like, whatever. It's good that people are seeing through this, a lot of them, but it's like, there's just, these people are just desperately trying to stay relevant, and they're all in, competition with each other, all these big companies. You've got Elon Musk with, Tesla, and he's got, bought Twitter as well, and it's like, they're all fighting to be on top. And it gets really toxic. They'll just do anything. And you could say that even happens on a, smaller scale as well, with like, smaller businesses where they'll just do anything to cut, like undercut somebody or whatever, to just to, outcompete them. It's just really, it's a cutthroat world that we live in. It's like, just in general, like even things like dating and all that, and the way that is now, it's so cutthroat, so brutal out there. I mean, there's not a lot, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of morality these days. I mean, there is good people out there, but the thing is that they say, what is it, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And, if you let somebody be a billionaire, then that's when they can buy up vast amounts of land, and they can influence things on a wider scale. Then, they get access to more resources. That's when it becomes dangerous. So I'm all about freedom, and to a degree I'm about like, free markets. But when it gets to a point where you've got big companies trying to create monopolies, then that's where I have a problem. Because I know it's not a free market anymore. There needs to be a balance. And maybe, there was a theory that, when a company gets so big, it should have to split up into different companies. Like, so like if it's becoming to like $1 billion company, or maybe you could argue even before that point, then it should have to split into 2 companies or something, and that way it would prevent monopolies, basically. I don't know if it's actually feasible, because they might find some loophole to get around it. And, it's like, even if there was like a wealth cap, do they have a way of maybe getting around that? I don't know. I'm just saying it shouldn't be this way. It's like, because they might try to just like, they'll try and do all this like money laundering and all that, and they're not paying hardly any tax, a lot of these people. But it's like, you've got all these people trying to shame people for not working, not paying tax, blah, 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 blah. But yet, they don't shame the elites who are, it's like if they'd actually put their attention to the people who are actually, really the criminals, in my opinion. Because to me, what they're doing should be criminal. Because if they're, they are literally, basically, I was talking to someone the other day saying how if they were to just like pay up all the taxes that they owe, it might even solve world hunger. I'm not saying it would, but it would at least probably go some way to solving hunger by just having these people pay their fair share. Like, they put it in overseas territories and whatever, and there needs to be some way for that to kind of be stopped. I don't know how, but surely, if the government actually gave a damn about any of us, they would actually try to figure it out, but they don't, because all these governments are all in bed with the big companies, and it doesn't matter who you vote for. It's just a rigged system that we're in, and as what George Carlin said, it's a big club and you ain't in it. Yeah, that's it, this elitist club of people, there's these, some could say there's like secret societies, like there's, groups of people that are making plans in secret. Obviously, we've got things like the World Economic Forum. We've got, they're secretly making plans about things right now. They let some stuff out, but a lot of stuff they won't be revealing to the public. These are all working together to try and make it so that we won't own anything, is all I think is going on. They want us to be not owning anything. They want everyone to just be renting for the rest of their lives. Some people are feeling forced into just camping or something to avoid having to pay rent that's just, for a lot of people, just not really affordable anymore, especially if they live in a city or something. They're like, what is the point of this? Because they're not even spending all their time in their home. They're just kind of using it just to sleep or whatever. But I just think it's it's just scandalous. It's the prices on everything. It's like everything should be cheaper, if anything. Everything becomes more efficient. All these, with technology, it should make everything more affordable, right? You could, do things more efficiently, but it's like these companies don't care. They just do it to maximize their own profits without it benefiting society. It's like workers, even if they aren't working as physically hard, but they're probably putting out a lot more productivity, kind of like compared to what they used to, because we're using more technology now. We can get things done a lot quicker, with a lot less effort now. But all it's doing is just making these, companies richer, whilst the poor are just, fighting over scraps. So for some people, it's like, say they're earning a minimum wage, right? They're on, it might be 20k a year now, something like that in the UK. But like, for some people, let's say if they're living in, so for some people, like, they might have to spend, what is it, maybe like nearly half of that on rent, let's say, depending on where they live. If you live in a cheaper area, yeah, you can get by off less, but oftentimes they're blowing almost, 1,000 a month. Let's say they're blowing, even if they're only blowing, let's say, 500 a month on rent, then they might be spending, let's say, a few hundred a month on food and other things like that. Like, they might, depending on their budget on that. I mean, unless they're really, like, trying to be frugal with all that. And then, in some cases, they're having to spend hundreds of pounds a month just on the commute to work and back. They might either have to drive there or get a train, depending on how far away it is. A lot of people have to commute now because they might not have a lot of jobs in their area. A lot of these towns now are like becoming, even some of the cities out there, not really doing that well. And it's like, if they're, cities, and towns that are not doing that well, the rent's going to be cheaper. But it's like, let's say, that, £500 rent, but they have to maybe spend, let's say, 200 a month on the commute. So that's 700. Then they might spend 300 a month on food and other necessary things like, toiletries or whatever. So that's like 1,000 already. Then there's all these other bills that are necessary, like their phone bill, there's energy bills, there's, you name it, all sorts of bills. And yeah, it's like, before you know it, you don't have that much left. And not to mention that, what is it, the tax on that, you got national insurance, you got all this nonsense. Yeah, if to look, they might have maybe like 200-300 left a month, but what is that even going to get you anymore? It's just like, people are finding it difficult to save up anymore, because people have become so greedy now. People have just, I don't know, like, everyone's just all out for what they can get for themselves, especially these big corporations and stuff. Well, there's a lot of scammers out there now as well. People just desperate to try and make money off people. So that's what you get when you've got shitty economy. People are just looking to, scam vulnerable people, and it's just disgusting. I mean, maybe if we weren't in such a bad economy, then people would be a bit more, I don't know, they wouldn't be so resorting to that kind of stuff, because you might find that in poorer areas, crime rates are higher, so on average. So yeah, the government keeps talking, crime, blah blah blah. It's like, well, because oftentimes part of it's because the economy sucks. I mean, that's some of it. It's not all of it, of course. Some of it's nothing to do with that. But, when it comes to things like theft, burglaries, all sorts of things like that, maybe if the economy was actually decent, then there'd actually not be as much of that. Just a thought, you know. I'm not saying that what these people are doing are right, of course, it's wrong. No one should be doing that. But these people don't want to actually address the real issues, you know, in these, in Parliament or whatever, and they're having these stupid meetings where they act like clowns, you know, talking nonsense. It's just absolute, it's a joke. But yeah, we shouldn't have billionaires at all. And even, all you guys that, like cream over Donald Trump, Yeah, even him. Fuck him, I don't care. Whatever, if you want to suck his dick or whatever, then you do that. But I think they're all corrupt. I don't care. I don't care what billionaire they are, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, all these people, because they're not actually probably really causing a net positive for society, I don't think. And it's like, I was looking into like how Elon Musk gets so much from the US government, and I think he gets stuff from other, I mean, I don't know if he gets it from this government as well, but he gets like billions every year. I was looking into it. He's had $38 billion from the US government. But I was looking into like, yeah, the UK government also gives a lot to a lot of these billionaires and stuff. And why are they doing that? Why do these people need to be, subsidized? So it just goes to show how much of a joke the system is. But yet, people will shame people for not wanting to work in this system and being, oh, you're a scrounger. It's like, well, why aren't you complaining about that? The fact that these billionaires are the biggest scroungers in the world, because that's what they are. They're scroungers. I don't care what you say. That's the truth. Your Elon Musk's and all that. Yeah. The thing is that people are, oh, but it's for a greater good. That's why they're taking money off the government, which is, they're taking it from taxpayers' money, basically. It's for a greater good, really. What greater good is it? What good are they actually doing for society? Sending all these rockets up in the air. It all seems to be a waste to me. But yeah, they still haven't been back to the moon yet. That's why, do you even believe that they did go? I don't know, but yeah, there's all this money thrown at space and all that, and yeah, we have really nothing to show for it. It's really disappointing, isn't it? Anyway, I digress. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up now, I think. I've had enough of a rant, so let me know what you guys think down below. And yeah, I'll see you all later. I'm going live later, so take care, everyone. I'll see you all soon. Peace out. Bye.